Hey there, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of DigPins. This week is Digital Networks Week. Just a kind of quick refresher, I'm Taylor Jaden. I'm the facilitator for the St. Norbert College cohort. I'm going to let everyone else introduce themselves, starting with Autumn.
Hey, I'm Autumn Keynes. I am an instructional designer at the University of Michigan-Dearborn. I'm going to pass it to Damien.
Hey everyone, Damien Michaud. I'm a learning designer at the University of Southern Maine.
And I'm Joe Murphy. I'm the director of the Center for Innovative Pedagogy and the facilitator at Kenyon College in Gambier, Ohio.
I'm going to dive right into it. I'm going to talk about what's kind of coming up this week. But before I do that, I just kind of want to put out there that we totally, as a group of facilitators here, we recognize this is a holiday week. So we don't want to stress anyone out. We're going to be here and doing this stuff because we're nerds for this stuff and we think it's fun. But if you can't, that's okay. Take your time. And on the other hand, if you want to participate, but you're in a weird spot, like on the road, or I don't know, in a hammock was a challenge brought up. You should definitely dial in from the hammock. Yeah, definitely dial in from the hammock. So if you want to do that, feel free to. There's no reason why you can't do that too. So as far as this week, just gonna kind of run down the list. First thing you want to do is watch this video. So you're already doing that. That's cool. The second thing we really want you to dig into is we want you to look at the suggested Twitter accounts page. Because we want to talk about developing your network, and a good way to start is to start following people you find interesting. We've got kind of each cohort will have their own page on folks that we think you might find interesting that are in the sort of DigPins universe. But we also want you to look for folks in your discipline or your field. Because that's kind of how this works. If you're not looking and reading at anyone's stuff on Twitter, then you probably won't get much use out of it. We also want you to start, if you haven't already, tweet using the DigPins hashtag. So far we've talked a lot about blogging and putting sort of promoting those in Slack, but we do want you to think about working in the public more, especially this week given it's Networks Week. So make sure to do that on Twitter. We also have a game by Nikki Case called The Wisdom and/or Madness of Crowds, and it's excellent. So don't snooze on that one. And then we have on July 5th at 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, we have a video call with Rajiv. I don't actually know how to pronounce his last name. It just occurred to me. I've never heard. Janjiani. Okay.
That's my attempt. I believe that is Janjiani.
I've never heard it out loud. So, and it occurred to me right then. But I'm really excited about that. So we actually have a reading / something you can watch on his website that I highly recommend you check out to get familiar with his work. And then if you can make the call, we have a Google form linked on the page. Click on that link to register just so we can get an idea of who's going to be there. If something changes and you realize all of a sudden day of that, oh, I can make it, that's fine. We'd rather you be there than not. But it is helpful for us to get an idea of who's going to be able to make it. And on top of that, in the Google form, we also ask you to kind of consider any questions you might have for Rajiv in there. And then finally, we've got 2 readings this week and some alternate readings. So be sure to check those out if you have the time. And we even have a kind of looking forward to week 3. We are going to be doing a public annotation. So that's at the bottom of the page. I don't want to waste a lot of time talking about next week. But I'm going to kind of open it up. Is there anything... Autumn, Damien, Joe, that you're specifically excited about this week?
So I'm really excited about the Nikki Case game. It's one of my favorite things that we do during the Networks Week. I just think it is a great way to talk about networks and to talk about network theory and really make it visible and put you inside of it. So your cursor is going to turn into a little pencil, and there's going to be these little faces, and you'll draw connections. There's little puzzles for you to work through and things like that. I really love it as an interactive piece. I have had one or two people, not a lot of people, but I have had one or two people who have said that they actually had a hard time working through some of the puzzles. And I think the concepts are more important than the puzzle itself. So if you do get stuck on a puzzle, there's a skip button down at the bottom. So if you feel like you just want to get through the story, because it also is working through this narrative at the same time, and you want to skip over the puzzle, you can do that. I found the puzzles not to be too hard. It did take me a little while to figure it out, but I learned so much by trying to figure out that, what exactly, oh, now I see what they're talking about. It will take you about a half an hour to probably get through the whole thing, though.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I think it's helpful too for faculty when you're considering kind of like learning resources and what you want to pull into a course, and you look for video and you look for readings. There's this whole world of e-learnings that are really interactive and fun, and they hammer home a point it almost sneaks up on you, which I think is great for students. So just as you complete the tasks there, just consider e-learnings and how they could, benefit your own teaching.
Yeah, I am just going to admit I will probably lose an evening to replaying Nikki Case games. I find them fun to go back to. They've done a lot on there's one on different voting systems. If the debates have you thinking about different ways we could be counting ballots, there's a great one about housing segregation. Which got a fair amount of play, where it's a little, I think it's blue boxes and yellow triangles, and some of the mathematical issues around the way that humans can self-segregate. I don't know if they've released it. There's a project Nikki Case is working on that's about spaced repetition and studying. Which would be a terrific thing, particularly for a first-year seminar, but maybe for any course where you're saying to a group of students, your study strategies could probably be more efficient and use your time better, and you would remember things longer and more automatically when you need them. So yeah, I'm probably just going to dig into that site and just admit that that's going to be like Wednesday night. I'm just going to play.
So we only have one game that we're giving you.
Yes, you only have to do one. That's because, as we already talked about, I'm a big nerd.
Agreed.
You may choose your own size of nerddom or a totally different. If there are other sites that you would like to look at, you should blog them, tweet them, Slack them. Let us know. Here are some other neat places where I see similar kinds of presentation, and we'll be shading into pedagogy next week.
Yeah,
we are definitely doing a little bit of foreshadowing into pedagogy this week as we start to develop out of identity, start talking about actually interacting with other identities. Now we're talking about networking. But because of our context in higher education, of course, all that networking results in a learning, right, from each other. And especially in formal education, we're actually trying to cultivate that learning into specific outcomes usually. So we're really excited.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching this video, and we'll see you out there on Twitter and in Slack and on the blogs. Have a good week.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Take care.